He's technically, for me, the Walt Disney of Japan.
What's up, nerds, or in this case, weebs? I'm James,
And I'm Ozzy. Sorry, that that was a good one.
and today we're going to talk about one of the probably most well-known studios in America from Japan, Studio Ghibli, and the very famous and impossible to retire Hayao Miyazaki.
I mean, Hayao Miyazaki has been around for a long, long time. He's technically, for me, the Walt Disney of Japan. So he has done so many things from Pocoroso to Spirited Away. He's got the new one coming out, The Boy and the Heron. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. My Neighbor Totoro, just classics that you see. So if you ever walk into, let's say, a Barnes and Noble and you see a figurine that is clearly not your mainstream anime and looks more like Disney-esque, but you've never seen it before, you're probably looking at a Miyazaki work.
Very much so. He is well known for his fantastical little creatures. I mean, Totoro has become the icon of Ghibli because it's Totoro. You look at a dude who's like round and gray. He's got the fun little belly pattern, and he's got the triangle ears, and you're like, I know that thing. I don't know what it's called, but I know that thing. And
I believe Totoro is based off of a spirit from the forest, a forest spirit in Japan, mythological. And a lot of those are usually represented as raccoons. Inside of that mythos, raccoons are shapeshifters. There is actually a movie where I believe it's called The Endless Summer or something close to that. I'm probably wrong. Where it is based off of these raccoons essentially shapeshifting into different people. Now, speaking of shapeshifting, if you've watched the Boy and the Heron trailer, you will notice that there is a lot of shape-shifting creatures, animals. I think a lady turns into a bunch of bubbles at one point, almost giving me like witch vibes. What are your thoughts on that new movie?
I am super excited because I recently just went on a Studio Ghibli binge. I'm going to try and go in chronological order. Excuse me if it's a little funky. Nausicaa, Castle in the Sky, Totoro, Whisper of the Heart, Mononoke. I'm trying to remember. Just Howl's Moving Castle, Cat Returns, Ponyo. It's hard because I'm trying to remember all of them, but that's like the gist of it. The main ones I've gone through, and it's seeing Miyazaki's works. They're in the early 80s and 90s, very environmentalist, but as time has gone on, it's been an interesting examination of Japanese culture and mythos and whatnot. And I'm interested to see The Boy and the Heron as like this new take on different parts of like Japanese mythos, because it looks like it's going to be, like you said, off screen, a lot like Spirited Away, where it's going to be a young character ends up in a world of spirits or something they are not used to, and they have to grow and adapt to that and become not a different person, but a better version of themselves through that. But it also sounds like it's going to be an examination of Miyazaki's relationship with Ghibli in a way.
Yeah, it definitely could be that. He has hinted that he was supposedly going to retire after that and has actually taken those comments back. But one thing that I think is going to be different about this movie in comparison to a lot of his happier and more lightly breaded movies is that at the beginning of this movie, the synopsis is essentially this 12-year-old boy, his mom dies, a heron comes by and says, your mom's not dead, come to this abandoned tower. And from there, he's transported to a new world. So just like in Spirited Away, they stop, they see the castle, their parents get turned into pigs. So almost like that sense. And then when you look at the art style as well, a lot of the human characters are drawn in the same sense. Which I know is classic studio, but he does go off of that chart a lot. And so I think it's one that's going to be really well received. It's going to be really good to look forward to it. And I think it's going to probably be as well received as Kiki's Delivery Service, especially with it being, we haven't had a lot of Studio Ghibli films in a long time. And so now a lot of people are seeing that resurface with streaming platforms and being able to essentially get all of that in there. And so now they're getting their fix on it, and they're like, wow, these are so much not rooted in the American mythos and the old European, folk tales like Little Mermaid, Hans and Gretel. You see all of these American folk tales retold and retold and retold, but Studio Ghibli is always coming out with either a twist on the mythos from Japan, or they're creating something crazy and new. And every time I see it, it just reminds me of what my mind used to feel like when I was 8.
Which I would like to just point out, the one time they did delve into, well, technically two, but the one time they delved into classic European fairy tales was with Ponyo, which I just learned this was actually Miyazaki's take on The Little Mermaid, which
Mhm.
I thought was pretty cool. I definitely feel that. I was watching Totoro, and it's like all the parents and all the parental figures like go along with the kids' imagination, and what we see from the kids is perfectly real.
Mm.
The parents may not recognize that, but they still let the kids have their imagination. And I love that side of Ghibli, is that it's like every film isn't just woo big buff men fighting each other for the billionth time. It's children and young adults and people having fun and exploring the world with their imagination. And it's like those memes where it's like, I just want to believe the world is a little more magical.
And Studio Ghibli definitely makes the world a little more magical for all.